It is the unprecedented nature of this challenge that also gives rise to your second obligation, an obligation which I share, and that is our obligation to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion.
But a loose-knit group of conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theories.
The conspiracy nuts.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Outrageous conspiracy theories.
Whack jobs.
Just like with Holocaust denial and other conspiracy theorists.
Because anybody who thinks 9/11 was a conspiracy is a retard.
You've been talking about this conspiracy bullshit for a while now.
I'm sorry to kill your conspiracy theories.
The conspiracy theories keep evolving.
9/11 conspiracy theories.
There's a religious...
There is nothing that could falsify their beliefs.
Yeah, it's a religious...
Purely faith.
They are a bit like religious fundamentalists in the sense that they're pursuing a certain dogma.
This quasi-religious need to believe in the conspiracy.
In the world of paranoid conspiracy theories,
you're not addressing the evidence.
Among the 9/11 conspiracy nuts.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a parent looking for the murder of my son. And you have to be a moron to think that 19 Arabs did it. Again, my dogs know better than that. So that's very important. Put yourself in my shoes and think of your child being murdered. And you've never had an investigation. Well, how would you feel if they refused to investigate the murder of your child?
The one thing that I beg of all of you, please, do not accept being called a conspiracy theorist. It is an ad hominem attack. Do not accept it. Fight back if somebody tries to call you crazy before you give them any information. Either move on to somebody else who's going to listen, or just don't take that crap anymore. Because, I mean, you have a right to say what you believe. You have a right to dissent in this country. And, you know, the guys I used to work with, they call me crazy. They say, why am I throwing my towel in with you guys? But you guys are trying to tell the truth. If a building falls down that's made of steel, you know, the steel should be on all the buildings around the surrounding area, but, I mean, it shouldn't be from here across the street speared into a building like an arrow. You know, I know physics. I do. I'm a science geek. I always have, and I'm telling you, as a cop who was there, I believe it doesn't add up.
I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who was one of the Rockefeller family, and he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event, and out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan, we were going to invade Iraq, and I remember he was telling me how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places, and there's going to be this war on terror, which is no real enemy, and the whole thing is a giant hoax, you know, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud, it's a farce. Yeah, there's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting, you know. But the war on terror, it's a joke, you know. And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
My mind is still there. You know, that day I'll never forget. And the explanations that were given to me is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Because as I stated, I was there. I lived it. I lived through it. Actually, I thought I was going to die that day. Because me and Michael Hess did get on our knees and start praying when we saw that there was nobody coming, there was no hope. We did get on our knees and start praying. And then there was the fireman that shined the light and says, anybody in here? Those are the sweetest words I ever heard. Is there anybody in here? When I got home, I sat down in front of the TV and my wife said, "Why do you keep watching this? Why do you keep?" I couldn't stop watching it. And that's when I found out Building 7 came down. I was so surprised. And I'm saying to myself, why did that building come down? And I knew why it came down, because of the explosions.
Do you feel that believing in conspiracies does serve some kind of psychological function for those people who tend to believe in them?
Well, you keep using the word theory, and the one word that's not been used yet is evidence. This whole opening of the mind to this conspiracy version of world events has not been as a result of psychological profiles or whatever. It's been the result of people saying they're lying to us.
One of the favorite tactics of defenders of the Matrix, or defenders of the false mainline reality that we're fed, that they use is, well, you guys just want to claim it's all a conspiracy and one centralized group runs everything because it makes it simpler for you, and you want to bring order to things, and it's scary for you. And they say, oh, you think that the government carried out 9/11, or elements of it did, because that makes you feel better that the government's in control, not that it's some guys in a cave. And I go, what are you talking about? I'd be a lot happier. It'd still be sad what happened, but I'd feel a lot better if it was rogue people in a cave, because I know they were small and weak and, you know, probably couldn't strike me again. But to know that there are declassified U.S. government plans to carry out 9/11 style attacks, and to know they were running drills that day of it, and to know that the attacks were an inside job, that is horrifying. What do you mean I want to believe it's the government because it makes me feel better? That's 1,000 times more terrifying and frightening.
Madam Speaker, I have a few questions for my colleagues. What if our foreign policy of the past century is deeply flawed and has not served our national security interests? What if occupying countries like Iraq and Afghanistan and bombing Pakistan is directly related to the hatred directed toward us? What if we finally decide that torture, even if called enhanced interrogation technique, is self-destructive and produces no useful information, and that contracting it out to a third world nation is just as evil? What if we finally see that wartime conditions always undermine personal liberty? What if the American people woke up and understood that the official reasons for going to war are almost always based on lies and promoted by war propaganda in order to serve special interests? What if we as a nation came to realize that the quest for empire eventually destroys all great nations? What if the American people learned the truth, that our foreign policy has nothing to do with national security, that it never changes from one administration to the next? What happens if my concerns are completely unfounded? Nothing. But what happens if my concerns are justified and ignored? Nothing good.
Today, we are facing despots who use national security and classification to push everything under a blanket of secrecy, to gag and call it a privilege. We must be vigilant and fight back, for our freedom is under assault. And this is not from the terrorists. No, the attacks on our freedom are from within, from our very own government. And unless we recognize these attacks for what they are, and stand up and speak out, no, shout out against those despots in government, then we are doomed to wake up one sad morning and wonder when and where our freedom died.
On some positions, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right.
The world
is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride, and we kill those people. Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride. We can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace.